I want to watch the Pokimane. Sorry, it's because it's a mon. Because I heard glimpses of what happened, or like I guess glimpses on what happened, right? But I don't know the entire story, and I want to know more information because this is crazy.
There's a crazy clip from Pokimane's stream going viral right now that I really want to talk about, but it also made me want to speak on a story I've never told about an experience I've had that's somewhat similar to the one she describes here, at least in terms of creepiness. And, well, now I finally have a reason to get that baby off my chest here, so that's gonna be...
We're just trauma dumping now.
Many years ago, when I was like super omega active on YouTube, and I was working with a lot of different editors. There was one editor in particular that I would work with a lot because his edits were really good, but he had one major problem, which was that sometimes out of nowhere his videos would just be like a week or two late. Months go by.
Okay, I mean that happens, right? Because editing, one, takes a long time, and two, life happens. So like I understand, right? But the reasoning behind this one is sick to my stomach.
And he messages me out of the blue, and he says, "Hey, do you have time to talk? I'm ready to finally tell you why I've been struggling so much with deadlines."
In the history of the human race, I don't think there has ever been a good ending to the sentence, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" That...
Agreed. Agreed! I get so much anxiety when somebody's like, "Hey, Sai, you got some time to talk for a little bit?" Never ever has it been like casual. It's always been like about a concern or like something serious, and I get like my anxiety shoots up so bad.
That always precedes the most vile shit you'll ever hear in your life. I can't even imagine a situation where you'd hear that sentence and think anything other than the most negative thing you'll ever hear is about
Don't ask me to talk, chat!
to happen. Like, imagine you're in heaven and the Lord pulls you aside right in front of the pearly gates and he says, "Hey, you got a minute to talk?" Well, you immediately assume you're just going to hell. Like, there's just no world where that sentence ever precedes good news.
Tell me why he proceeds to tell me that the reason why he would sometimes turn around videos a week or two late is because he couldn't stop
Oh my god.
touching himself.
Ah! I don't like that. I don't like that.
Pick which word to use. To me, his, in a way, employer of many months.
Stop for a second and really let that stew in your noodle. Let it marinate for a bit. How Coomer-brained must you be not
That
only
is
to do this
so
degenerate
unprofessional.
act of just fucking beating your meat to a streamer's gameplay footage that you're editing, but then tell her that the reason you're late on some of the edits is because you can't stop squeezing your hog to the footage that she sends you.
That is
There
so
are
nasty.
many layers to this onion here. Let's just start by picking apart the most obvious. Why? Now, I know in the most severe cases of porn addicts, they'll sometimes try and communicate directly to the porn star by, like, leaving comments or sending messages or whatever. And that's always the saddest shit you'll ever see. That'll bring a tear to even the strongest man's eyes.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'll see those moments where dudes try and directly communicate to the porn star, leaving comments on their posts saying things like, "Can't wait to watch this one when I'm off work," or "When my wife goes to bed, that's when the bad boy will play. Thanks for providing me with tonight's entertainment," whatever. Like, just leaving these desperate posts, you know, cock in hand, giving a salute, like, "Thank you, madame, for your service. This will be a legendary gooning sesh." But
What?
even in those cases, they're communicating with someone they don't know. This guy was her editor for many months. And he
See, that makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah, he's right. Like, this is somebody you've worked for multiple months to create content. You're paying them. You are paying them for their services to edit your VODs or videos or whatever. And it just, like, it makes me really fucking sick to my stomach.
was not only jerking off to the content he was being sent, which was just gameplay videos, I imagine, or like just chatting stream moments, nothing even sexual, and he was still choking the chicken to it, fucking playing the skin flute. and then had the gall to tell her that he was doing that is just incomprehensibly unhinged. She was his boss. She was employing him. So he basically went right through HR, bypassed that protocol, went straight to the top of the food chain, kicked in the door, and said, "Listen, boss, I'm fucking obliterating my wiener, and what are you gonna do about it? That's why I've been late on my deadlines." Like, I don't think he came in with that energy. I bet he was, like, super shy about it. He was probably like, "Oh, Pokimane, so I know I've been kind of late recently, but it's only because I was, ooh, how do you say, jerking off to your work."
When I tell you I've never had a conversation so
I felt-
fast, because I'm like, you are the person
Even
that
when
I
Charlie said it, it made me feel gross.
spend like hours of foot did
And the fact, yeah, she's right. He has hours of footage of her. Months worth of footage.
to. I don't want to know what you're jacking it to. I don't want to know.
Hello,
I
Amber.
shouldn't even know how much I know right now. I shouldn't know.
I'd actually argue that it's better she did know this, no matter how awful it is, but that way she can get the fuck away from this weirdo ASAP. Just say, "Take a hike, Buster. This is fucking terrible."
But I felt so bad. So when he's like, you know, like, this is like an addiction of mine, I genuinely felt really, really bad. So I still paid him for months. What the hell do I do? Fire him? Am I even allowed to fire someone because they're...
That's definitely towards the top
I
of the list
mean-
for the best reasons.
Was it more like a freelancing thing? I don't know. Because that would kind of depend if there's like a contract, right? Like an employment contract. Or maybe she's just like, you know what? I don't know if it's like a commission-based thing or she like hired him through a company. I don't know. It could be very complicated.
For someone. That actually might be reason number one why you could go ahead and can somebody. Because they can't stop fucking beating their cock to you, their employer. And they're also not doing their job well by being 1 to 2 weeks late. Which, by the way, is a long time of just fucking gooning here. This degenerate would miss his deadlines by a week or even up to 2 weeks because he was obsessively polishing his scepter to his employer. You 100% can and should fire someone like this.
Yes.
It's not like the Better Business
Agreed.
Bureau is going to defend him. You're not going to have agents show up at your door knocking and be like, "Hey, listen, we know what happened here. You discriminated against this kind, gentle sir. You fired him just because he was obsessively masturbating to you. Well, I'll have you know this is a free country, ma'am. This is a civilized society. You can't fire someone for that. There's no crime. What
my
is the
God.
charge? Busting a nut? An immaculate, gooey nut? This is democracy manifest." Like that just wouldn't happen.
No.
But I actually understand why she was hesitant to do that. And this is where I'm going to get into a story I don't think I've ever told. I'm pretty sure I haven't. Where I had something somewhat similar happen a long time ago. Not to this level.
Oh,
but
Lord.
something closely related. So, a while back, I used to just accept any voice acting role I was offered by any human being with a pulse on the planet. If they said they needed voice lines done, I would do them for free just because I really enjoyed doing it. It's actually how I met Jackson, and if you have ever watched the official podcast, you'll know that our X-Men origin story between Jackson and I's friendship is that Jackson actually scammed me through this process. He sent me an email asking if I'd be down to do voice work for his upcoming game, and then sent me like some in-game screenshots and promotional screenshots that were actually just Dark Souls images that he photoshopped to fit his game style that he tried to sell me on. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm definitely down to do voice work. And it turns out he never had that game, he just wanted to play games together, and we did, and ended up becoming extremely close friends, and now we make God Slap together. Like, he's been a friend of mine for almost a decade now. And
That is very strange.
it came from that. But there's definitely a dark side to that. The Sith Lords definitely did exploit that very stupid thing I used to do, just accepting any voice acting roles ever from anybody.
So that's how he got the Mythos chance. Perhaps. I can't share our company secrets of how we got Charlie.
So, I think this was after I had met Jackson and after we were friends. I can't quite remember the exact chronological timeline here, but I received a very interesting email from a very peculiar man that, under any other circumstances, probably would have triggered red flags in a sensible person's mind. But for me, I saw the word, like, voice acting opportunity, and I was like, I'm in. Say no more. So I emailed him back saying that I was absolutely down to do this, and when should we get to work on it. So we communicated back and forth a little bit and eventually set up a Skype call. Because this is when Skype was still popular.
Oh my god, I
think one of the
haven't
best things
heard
that's
that
happened in
word
modern day-
Skype in so long. What a time. Remember, like, Skype group chats? That was, like, the equivalent of Discord servers. And it was just, like, there were no categories in the chat. It was, like, one singular chat. I don't even know if Skype is still a thing. Is it?
Is that Skype has died. That was legitimately just like fucking official malware. That was the worst program that ever saw success, and I am embarrassed that it ever got as popular as it did. But this was a different time and day back then. So we went in Skype and we had our first voice call a couple days after that initial email came through, and it wasn't like super weird. He conducted himself pretty professionally. He was trying to tell me about the game. I don't remember all the details around it. It was a game that never was going to happen, though. It was unbelievably ambitious. It was some kind of, like, MMO hack and slash with, like, a super deep branching plot lines, all made by him. The soul.
See, I've gotten a few of those emails, too, where, like, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten really good at, like, sensing BS emails. Because I'll get emails be like, voice acting opportunity. And then it'll be like, hello, Poseidon. We love your demo reel. Can you please voice act for our game show? And then proceed not to tell me anything. A lot of these, like, at least currently, a lot of the voice acting scams is to, like, steal people's voices to make into AI voices.
Solo dev. He was just spamming every buzzword he could about this game. But, again, it didn't matter to me because it was voice acting work, and I wanted to get the reps in.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I get it, right? Because when you're early in your voice acting journey, like, I'm still pretty early in mine, you kind of want to try to get as much, like, experience under your belt, even in smaller projects, to put on a resume and to try to grow a network. Like, I get it. I'm not being like, Charlie, you're stupid. Like, I completely understand.
So I just said, yeah, like, I'm super on board. Let's stay in contact. You can send me the script and whatever else you need. And that was kind of the end of our, like, introductory call. And, man,
from the time period, he's transcribing voice AI wasn't a thing, probably, so that worry didn't exist. That worry probably didn't exist.
Did I open Pandora's box? Pretty much immediately after that call, he would start messaging me on Skype often. And it wasn't about the project all the time. Sometimes it was just about his day, which I would engage with. I'd be like, oh, it's really interesting to hear about how your day's been going. Thanks so much for sharing. And then he'd start tiptoeing into, like, some other small talk. It started to feel like he was interrogating me sometimes, where he'd be like, so, what'd you do today? And I'd tell him, be like, oh, so, like, you didn't really respond earlier. I thought you were just doing something really important, but you were just hanging out at home? That's kind of weird. Like, what? Are you sure that's all you're doing? I was like, brother, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm just not, like, always on Skype. He's like, oh, no, that's fine. He just didn't respond to me. And then he'd start gradually asking more and more questions, like questions you would ask someone on, like, the most awkward first date imaginable if you were some kind of Reddit mod. He'd be, like, asking me certain things, like, about anime and just, like, general interests and shit. And this is right before I
That's
graduated.
not... At least in, like, a professional working relationship, at least with, like, the directors and stuff I've worked with in studios, and I'm pretty sure this is pretty general practice, you keep things business only. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you'll go into a session and be like, hey, how's your day going? But you'll, like, continue going past that. I feel like it's pretty unprofessional, especially if, like, you're trying to keep a good working relationship. You know what I mean?
College. I was still in college because I remember he was asking me about how my schooling was going. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's going well. How's your project going? And he'd tell me some shit that I know wasn't happening. He's like, oh, yeah. I got a lot of work done today on the game. I was in C#, really just fucking in my flow state. I took, like, the limitless pill, and, man, I programmed fucking 15 trees, and I have 17 actors doing mocap for me, and they're all martial arts specialists, so the hack and slash animations are top-notch. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Do you have, like, that script or anything ready? He's like, oh, it's still being worked on. And then you just keep kicking that can down the road and change the topic of, like, but enough about the game. Tell me about exercise physiology. What's that like? It's like, brother, you're not my mom. Like, why are you checking in like this?
You're just the project person.
Close or anything.
You're not
So
my
why
friend.
would you get upset if I don't like respond to you in a timely enough fashion? Like, it was just a disaster. So this went on for like.
I mean, like, why are you even talking to voice actors when you don't even have a script? That to me is strange. Like, why are you even communicating? You know what I mean? Because usually when you are trying to set up recording sessions or communicating with the actor, the script is finished.
Every couple of days, and I was ready to just wash my hands of it and just say, all right, this voice work isn't worth, I'm not getting the juice isn't worth the squeeze, as they say. So I kind of just started to let that peter out. I'd really very rarely respond to him, so he'd send me like a few messages over the course of like a week or two that I just would ignore. And then it got really bad. This guy was sending me like deep messages, and some of them just very unsettling. And then he eventually sent me a message talking about how he's about to end it all.
Oh my
God.
God.
He doesn't expect me to respond since I haven't responded in so long, but he just wanted me to know how much our friendship meant to him and all that. And
that's
I
really
fucking freaked
sad.
out, immediately responded to that when I saw it, and then he once again just switched gears and was like talking about my day and his day and this and that, and once again just going down this small talk and then like interrogating me like, well, why haven't you been responding?
He said that to get his attention? That's kind of fucked up if that is the case. I really hope that's not the case, but from what it's sounding like it is, that's kind of messed up.
The story like, oh, just haven't been checking Skype for the last few weeks, just stuff going on. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, okay, yeah, I'm sure, and then getting upset and whatever. I recommended him getting like professional help, which he claimed he was doing and seeking, but it wasn't really working. The only thing that really helped him was our little chit-chats back and forth. So obviously I kept that door open, and luckily the frequency of his messages was much slower, so over the course of a few months now, the messages were far less often. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but it still just felt miserable to keep this communication open. It felt like a hostage situation where, like, if I didn't respond, he might do something, and it was scary.
That is
And as
so
this continued for
toxic.
quite
That is toxic and horrible. Like, if you have to keep threatening, like, hurting yourself or suicide to get someone's attention, like, that's with, like, no intention of, like, doing it, like, that's horrible.
sometime he'd make threats occasionally
That's
of
abusive.
harming himself if I didn't respond in like a fucking speedrun fashion to one of his messages. When I got into a relationship, he sent a really creepy message about like, well, is it serious? Why is it serious? What do you see in her? That kind of thing. Like, it was all really alarming shit. And I'm not going to keep boring you with details here, but similar to how Pokimane didn't immediately fire that guy because she like felt bad for him or was like a little afraid of what might happen or whatever. It's easy to take a step back when you're not involved in it and just be like, oh, this is
No,
what
I said 20 subs and you guys can put me in the jar and that's it.
could have done. But when you're actually in one of these like really weird fucking situations on like a personal level here, it's just a little harder to do that. So I do understand that, but again, definitely the right course was firing that guy. In my situation,
fuck that guy.
eventually what I did was I just stopped responding. If he did send me one of those messages, I would reply just telling him
Total
I need
of
professional
20.
help, and I won't talk further about these kind of things with him because I am not a professional. I'm not equipped to deal with that or handle that or help him in any way. He needs real help. And that would be how I'd respond to those messages when he sent them, and he
Yeah.
eventually stopped. But that went on for a long time.
That
But
is
yeah, anyway, just kind of wanted to
abusive.
talk about all this. That's about it. See ya.
That is some sort of fucked up, abusive relationship. I'm so sorry he had to go through that. That sounded horrible. Horrible to experience. I feel so sorry for him. And I feel sorry for Pokey. Like, imagine giving editors your trust, right? To have all this footage. Sometimes, I don't know if she just gave him VODs or, like, offline, like, recorded footage. But it's a responsibility. Like, you guys, VODs pretty much go away. But when these editors, they have permanent footage, I wouldn't feel comfortable if, like, I gave somebody, like, fucking hours and hours and hours and hours worth of footage and be like, hey, edit it. And they come to me months later and be like, yeah, I fucking jacked off and jizzed all over it. Like, ew, nasty. Ugh, that feels nasty. That's disgusting.